Good morning and welcome to this week's episode of Choir Leader in a Kayak. I'm beginning to see the light. This week's episode is all about finding the light. I hope you've had a really lovely week. It's been quite a difficult week with the news of changes yet again, but that is what life is all about, isn't it? David Bowie was so right. Changes. Anyway, today's episode, Finding the Light. I've particularly chosen to come to quite a dark place on the river today. I'm sitting under a beautiful weeping willow tree. It is one of my favourite places to come. I feel very protected here. I feel very, very safe. This week I went for a walk on Wednesday evening, and I'd had a very, very busy day and quite a difficult day, and I decided to go and watch the sunset. And I went to one of my favourite places in the park, which is full of trees, and often when it's been very, very rainy, it's often an area that gets quite bogged down and quite flooded, and I like to go there for all sorts of reasons. It's one of my thinking places, and it has been for quite a long time. And it was quite dark and I couldn't really see the sun setting, and it sort of added a little bit to my dark feelings that day. And then in the distance I spotted the brightest red-orange light at the base of the trunk of a handful of trees over in one corner of the place where I was. And I walked over, and at first I thought somebody had taken some orange fluorescent spray paint and painted the bottom of the trees, and then I realised it was the tiniest chink of light that had come through, and it was the sun setting, and it had found its way through and was just at the base of these three trees. And it was so incredibly magical, and it really made me think about the choices that we make and how sometimes we just need to find the light and find ways of staying positive and knowing that it is there somewhere, even in the darkest of our moments. So I was really grateful to see that magic. And when I got home and I showed my husband the picture, and he referred to it as if it was like a fire fairies dancing at the bottom of the woods, and it was very magical. It made the evening a lot better, and indeed after Wednesday the week felt a bit brighter, although of course the news has become a little bit more confusing for us all. Yesterday I made music with two lovely, lovely people, and again we went out into the sunshine and we sang live music, we busked. I never thought I'd find myself busking at this age. A bit silly really, but there has to be a first for everything, and I'm really, really proud to have done it. And you know what? We brought so much light to people yesterday during their lunchtime in a busy marketplace where people were distanced, but you could see their enjoyment. And I watched as people tapped their toes along. Busking isn't always about people throwing money at you, and in fact I think sometimes people are a little bit shy to come and value your work, but I felt truly valued, even if I wasn't financially rich. I felt really valued for many reasons. The people stayed to listen at the tables that they were eating at, and one man who was on a bike stopped in his tracks, and he seemed to stay and listen as we sang Make You Feel My Love. People nodded as they walked past, and I really felt that I was bringing light into their days, especially on these dark days. Music will always do that. Music will find a way to make people connect to their emotions. Maybe that man listening to Make You Feel My Love had a moment of grief and sadness, but perhaps our music helped him to think about those with fondness. The last thing that I want to say today is it is September the 11th. 19 years ago, some of us may remember what we were doing on that day. The day before, would have been flying home from America as a flight attendant. That's what I used to do in my former life. And of course the very next day, that very same airline that I worked for was part of the tragedy of 9/11. those people who boarded those planes that morning 19 years ago, and those people who walked into the Twin Towers to do their work, didn't for a second even imagine what was going to happen. So find the light. I read a wonderful article this week about Charlie Chaplin and his rules for living, and I encourage you to go and have a little look at them. He talks about the 7 doctors that we need, being exercise, friends, self-respect, food, drink, water, all those very simple things that hopefully you have access to, and so do I. So thank you so much for watching. Do find the light. Have a wonderful week. Stay well. Lots of love, and I'll see you next week. Bye bye.